more folks?
Hang on 1 second, Jerry. We got a tech thing happening.
No, we're live now. You can start whenever you like.
Okay, we just want to make sure it was still live. It is.
Okay, well, let's call it to order then, Christina, at 5:31. And should we do a roll call thing, Porter, since we're virtual or whatever?
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Okay, so I'm Jerry Johnson. I'm the chair of the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission. How do you guys know what order to go in?
However everybody's showing up on your screen, you could just go that way.
Oh, okay. Well, I see Kate.
I'm Kate Dinneen, and I am a commissioner.
I see Christina.
Christina Walker, I'm secretary.
I see Clarence.
Hey, Paul.
I see Martha.
Marla Angel here.
I see Mary.
Mary Upton.
And then, yeah, so those are the commissioners that I see present. It looks like we have someone from Americana on, and also
I think all the other computers are related to our broadcast system. Oh, no, Steve,
good.
sorry.
They have names that aren't
Yeah, you can ignore the CC projector, City Dell, and City Hall, except Steve Nowak is here.
There's Steve.
There he is.
Welcome. So a couple of guests and then our commissioners. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Porter for a second for some housekeeping stuff, and then we'll go through our agenda for tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jerry. My name's Porter Arneal. I'll be facilitating the Zoom video portion of the meeting. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and public access channel, cable channel 25. During the meeting, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found on the lower left-hand side of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. By muting, you make sure that everybody can hear everybody else okay, especially with barking dogs in the background and that kind of thing. In the menu, you can also turn your camera on or off by clicking the video icon. For the purposes of this public meeting, please keep your video on during the meeting. If you're participating by phone, you can click *6 to unmute your phone. And I will turn it back to Jerry.
Okay, I see Joshua was able to join us as well, so now we have quorum plus.
Right.
Okay, so a few points to go through about tonight's meeting. I'm sorry, I'm going to read these. But at our meeting on July 8th, we heard presentations from Margaret Morris from Lawrence Arts Center, Steve Nowak from Watkins, and from Mary Dupton of Theater Lawrence about the economic impact the coronavirus is having on our arts and culture institution and organizations in Lawrence. It was an eye-opening evening, I think, for all of us. After hearing these presentations to advance and increase awareness about the unique nature of the arts and culture groups, which is really our job as the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission, we agreed to draft a letter to the City Commission to basically ask them to help us increase awareness of the struggles that these groups and other arts and culture groups in our community are currently facing. There was a committee formed, which included Kate Dinneen, Denise Stone, Joshua Fallleaf, and Mary Dupton to plan to draft a letter, which is the purpose of our meeting tonight, is to discuss that letter, which we intend to share with the commission. Porter agreed to assemble information related to Cultural Arts Commission, easy for me to say, but essentially about to produce data, to get data for the economic impact for arts and culture, as we state in the letter itself, where that data comes from, comparing both before and after the coronavirus, and that data came from Americans for the Arts data. So after we drafted the initial letter, the committee refined it before sending it to Joshua, our editor-in-chief, to make it into English that hopefully everyone can understand, and appreciate that, Joshua. And tonight our task is to review that letter, make adjustments if necessary, and if agreeable, approve it, I suspect through a motion, and present that to the City Commission tomorrow night.
Correct.
Any questions on what we're going to discuss tonight?
And let me add one little thing. We do have to be finished by 5:25 because I had to squeeze this in between another meeting. So just FYI.
Hoping you mean 6:25.
Excuse me, that would be smarter, wouldn't it? Unless we went backwards in time. So 6:25, sorry.
All right. Should we just open the floor for comments on the letter? Should we display? Can you display it, Porter? How should we live edit? What technology do we have at our disposal?
So everybody should have received the letter. I could pull it up. Hang on, I wasn't prepared to do that, but I can do that.
Hold tight. Maybe we can, just on a whim, maybe if no one had any serious objections to it, maybe we wouldn't have to go through it line by line or so forth. So does anybody have any burning issues with the letter or anything?
Jerry, hearing none at this point, the one thing I would offer is I just want to say thanks to Rachel for joining us on a short notice. Rachel is the director of Americana Music Academy. One thing that came up with the letter was just the notion that do all the arts and culture institutions in this town, are they all represented fairly by this letter? And one question came up as to whether or not Americana sort of fit in the same ranks as the Arts Center and Theater Lawrence. And Rachel explained to me that they actually rent their building, so they don't own it, although they do have some maintenance requirements and safety requirements related to COVID. But I invited her to join us just so she could be part of this conversation and representing another, important cultural institution in this town, and just make sure she was aware of what you guys were doing, how this was happening, and to assure that she was, comfortable with the letter and how you guys are approaching it.
Okay. Yeah. So for background, Rachel, and Porter probably gave you this background, but the three entities that are called out by name in the letter came to us with a presentation in our July 8th meeting, and what we wanted to do was not limit the text to just those three, although those are the three that are named because they did, they were the ones that came forward. But we also recognize that other arts and culture organizations and nonprofits in Lawrence are obviously being affected by this, and so we tried to include language that. While it calls out those three specifically because they were the three that came to us, but also identifies that there are others in our community that are struggling as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is this a good time for me to comment in terms of the agenda?
Sure.
Okay. Well, first of all, hi, everybody, because I used to serve on this commission. I was extremely pregnant at that time, so I now have a 17-month-old. And it's good to see you guys again. I think really I'm glad that this letter was brought to my attention because I think kind of where we stand is just we feel like we're stronger together, right? That's why you guys are doing this, and that's why the Arts Commission exists. And just to try and sort of be a part of this plan, how can a small entity like Americana Music Academy, which obviously is so much smaller than at least Lawrence Arts Center and Theater Lawrence, how can we get the aid that we need as well? Is it best to do that sort of as a united front with all of the Lawrence Arts organizations? How can we do that? That's my question, really. Anybody?
So, well, I mean, yeah, and I certainly appreciate the question. I think the idea here is that we're putting this letter together. I mean, we can't, directly go. I mean, we're not directly asking for funds and that type of thing. We're really trying to raise awareness with the commission about these types of things. So maybe I could just cut to the chase with this idea. I mean, originally these three organizations came to us in the July 8th meeting. They are specifically named in the letter. And so I suppose maybe I'll ask the question that maybe you didn't, and that is, should we explicitly use the name of Americana Music Academy as well in the letter? And I'd open it up to anybody for thoughts on that.
Well, I think my question, if I could just follow up, is can you point me to the language in the letter? I do have it in front of me, where it's inclusive.
Yeah. Can you bring it up, Porter, so that here we go.
In the third paragraph, it begins in Resolution 7140. If you read that a little further along. It talks about how it affects everybody, but then it pulls out those three entities.
Okay.
With this, we are recommending to you that you join us in increasing the awareness of how significantly this pandemic is impacting our arts and culture.
Okay.
Yeah, here. So here it comes, and actually we did it throughout the really the entire letter. So as Kate points out, we included in that paragraph. If you go down further, really in almost each place we say let's see. Yeah, I mean, we just say in general, economic impact on arts and culture institutions is, and then also where we call out the three. I think I actually made this edit myself.
You have to tell me which paragraph you're looking at.
Well, I can only see the ones that you have up because I don't have a printout of it right here in front of me.
So Porter.
Here we go. Oh,
yeah.
This is not the latest version, Porter.
Well, this is the version that was put onto the agenda item without any additional corrections. I know that you've had some discussion about what Rachel's bringing up. So this is the one this is the one we're working from. So any edits would need to be done to this letter.
Oh, all right then. So let me let me back up a little bit and. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. How do we want to do this, Porter? So I have some edits to add this stuff in. Should I print that off and go over those while we look at this, since this is the version that everyone's working off of, or?
I think that makes the most sense, since you've had conversations with various people trying to make sure that this fits appropriately to everybody.
A little tight. Let me do this.
And if I may, let me go back while you're doing that and just respond to Rachel's question a little bit more, since I'm also helping with the recovery efforts that's being overseen through the county, from federal funds going through the state to the county. So as Jerry pointed out, this letter is not asking for funding from the City Commission, because that's really not the role of the Art Commission, nor is there funding really available in this context for that purpose. As you probably know, the county is receiving CARES money That's been in the newspaper recently. And there is an effort to look at how that money can be distributed throughout the community. And they're working feverishly to try to figure that out because it's all happening very quickly. I believe, and maybe Steve and or Mary could speak to this, they are also involved in some recovery component of this that's being led by the city and the chamber. And that, I don't know if you guys know more, but I think there will be some sort of competitive process at some level to try to give opportunity for people to seek funding. Is that what you guys are hearing?
Yeah, Explore Lawrence, I believe, sent out a thing this today that I received that talked about some public engagement opportunities for others to make the county aware as they develop their proposal to the state. That might be in addition to the otherwise already determined factor, which is a certain dollar amount per citizen in each county. Just so that there's some variations there. I visited with Commissioner Thelman just not too long ago about that, and she's these public events are to gather more information about what those areas of need are for organizations they might be not thinking of, or they don't want anybody to get overlooked anyway.
From what I understand, the first set of monies that's going to be distributed, however it is distributed, is to support public health initiatives, and that's a decision that the county has to reach relatively soon. I believe that happens sometime in August. There is supposedly other distributions, economic recovery distributions, but I don't know when. I haven't heard when. I haven't heard anything about a process, and haven't heard anything about gathering information to help inform that process yet. I think the focus on this first distribution of public health funds is kind of occupying everyone's mind right now.
I think the chamber is doing 2 sessions this week, aren't they? Information sessions on the Sparks money.
Yes.
I think there's one tomorrow. No, one Wednesday and one on Thursday.
Correct.
Nobody seems to know anything yet.
Well, I can tell you that the 24 million, 24.9, whatever, the first money will be going to reimburse entities that have already spent money on COVID-related things. The reimbursement part will happen first, and then it will go down the line to the next. So that 24 million isn't, that's not what everybody's going to be asking for. There's going to be a substantial amount of that goes out to reimbursement. And a lot of that will be public health and other entities like that. So you're right. Nobody really knows. We're in a really quick time crunch on this. But one of the things that I heard was that if you are interested in playing with this, is to reach out to one of those 4 groups. And if you go to the website, the county website, you can see which of the 4 different groups. And one of them is, and Porter, you can correct me because you know this stuff. The one that involves the chamber and economic recovery.
Right.
Might be one group to go and talk to if you are interested. You want to know more about what the process is going to be. I think the more that people are able to talk to the people who are in those 4 different groups, the better off you're going to be as far as getting information in a timely fashion, because it is really fast.
So, yeah, for Rachel, if you aren't aware, if you go to Douglas County, the Douglas County website, there's a coronavirus hub, and that's sort of the main page. If you go to that page and then scroll down to the second section, there's a whole section on the CARES funding, which gives you more information about how it's being structured to determine the best method that the county will then take to the state and say, this is how we intend to spend this money or to distribute this money. So that's there, and then it would give you the proper contact info. And to Mary's point, I know the chamber just put out information. You can probably get to their Twitter feed, and I think we put it out too through the city to find out more about these 2 business sessions that are coming up, which will also give more information as to what's happening.
And those meetings might actually identify what the application process is for that,
Right.
because right now, some of us know what we've spent, but no one appears to know how to submit that amount for consideration.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I understand how we're gonna do this process, let's answer Rachel's question by looking at the second paragraph in the sentence where we say, with this, we are recommending that you join us in increasing the awareness of how significantly this pandemic is impacting our whole arts and culture community.
Whole, okay.
And wait, there's more.
I can't change it here, so keep going, because I can't show you what I'm going to change, but I'm tracking it on my document here.
Particularly, and then in the last sentence, we also recommend that we work together to help find financial support for the cultural institutions in Lawrence. Not these, the. And then if we go to the 5th paragraph, where we say, because these three, what I was proposing, again, in the spirit of being inclusive of and recognizing that other arts and culture institutions in Lawrence are experiencing similar things, my recommendation was cultural institutions such as these three that occupy their own buildings bear business and operational costs which are higher than other nonprofits. And then in the after the dash where we say the antithesis of the following sentence, each of these institutions and other arts and culture nonprofits are working feverishly to. So essentially, the idea is just where we were referring directly to those three to be more inclusive of other Lawrence or Douglas County arts and culture institutions that are experiencing.
And Jerry, do you want to add and other local arts and nonprofits?
I don't have any problem with adding local if we want to make sure that nobody misunderstands that we're not trying to help out.
Yeah, I think it's important to.
Or something, yeah. Okay. Local is fine.
Well, and I think one of the key points is that the Lawrence Arts Center, Theater Lawrence, and the Watkins Museum, are representative, or they stand in because they've offered these numbers, they've given a presentation, and they shared this data with us as an example, as a representative, as representing all arts and culture organizations and institutions.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I thought the language "such as these three" would use those. We could highlight those as the examples. And so as far as edits that I had recommended based on conversations I had with people, with respect to trying to capture that, being inclusive of other organizations while still highlighting the three who brought this to our attention, because I think that's important as well. But obviously not wanting to come across as we were only limiting to those three. Those were the edits that I had recommended. Before we move on to any other topics with respect to the letter, does everyone feel like we've covered that?
Yeah, can I move to accept those edits? Is that necessary?
Yes.
Well, I move to accept the edits as noted.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that,
Okay.
that's unanimous? Or go ahead and ask for abstentions.
Any abstentions? None heard.
And any opposed?
Sorry, I'm trying to scroll through and see if anybody's got their hands up.
Oh, here, let me unshare my screen.
Okay, so it sounds like we have consent on the changes that are around the topic of being inclusive to other organizations. I had a couple of more edits that I wanted to bring out. If we could put that back up, Porter. Oh, he's getting good at this. Okay, I want to run this by you all because it was the one thing that was sort of giving me a little bit of heartburn, and that was this sentence. In the top paragraph that's shown there, it's the sentence that says Douglas County alone is realizing 100% reduction in philanthropic funds. This statement sort of makes my for lack of a better word, my BS meter go off a little bit. I don't like the 100% reduction, and I'm not sure. I think there's a risk that it, sort of pulls the wheels out from underneath the letter a little bit, because I don't want to get into an argument about what people are experiencing there, but I suspect that private donors and private folks who are philanthropic in nature are, and we don't want to get into a thing where we're auditing anybody. So there were two sort of things to look at with respect to this sentence. One is where does it come from? And that's really from the text that we got from the Americans for the Arts data that we got. And it is supportable. And so the idea was there were two options in my book with respect to this, and I want to just toss them out to the group. The first option is to actually quote where this data came from, to say that it came, Americans for the Arts reports, or also to consider just striking the sentence completely, because the paragraph stands on its own without that. If we were to say, basically, if we were to say, just take that sentence out, I don't think that we lose much power in what we're trying to say. Yeah.
Maybe if we strike that second sentence, we could have the loss of revenue per organization in Douglas County alone is 5 times more than what is seen nationally. And that way, yeah, the second sentence, it rang a little weird to me, like just the structure, but I didn't know what to do with it. But it just kind of compares, local.
In fact, we could say, and I think somebody, maybe in my talks with Porter or Mary, I don't remember, but anyway, someone I was talking to today, maybe what we say is America for the Arts reports the loss in revenue per Douglas County organization, if that's true, by the way, we need to make sure that's true, is 5 times more than what's seen nationally. Is that true?
Well, that's what was reported in the data.
Okay, then let's say
go to the website. If you go to the website and go to the dashboard and drill down to Douglas County, that's what's reported.
Right.
It isn't it's not based on a high number of people who responded to this survey, but still, that's what it is right now.
I agree.
So does anyone have any issue if we strike the one with the actual percentages, and then in the following sentence we say, Americans for the Arts reports in Douglas County the loss of revenue per organization is 5 times more than what we see nationally?
I don't agree with that. I understand your point, Jerry. I just think that what was shocking to me was when I listened to the presentations was the sheer, how demoralizing this whole situation was, and how, I don't know how else to explain my response, but I think I'm okay with it. How does everybody else feel?
Well, I guess as a fundraiser, I find it hard to believe that it's 100% reduction.
Okay.
That seems
Fair enough.
odd. And then it took me a while to figure out what that last part of the sentence meant behind the average loss. I think I finally figured out that it's saying nationally the average is 60%,
right, and
in Douglas County it's 100. So I think if we're going to keep it, we need to reword it. But the 100%, I know the organization I raise money for still has some money coming in because some people are concerned about this. And
okay,
so, it may have changed since the time we got this data, right? So I
Sure.
think having that 100% in there is a little bit problematic.
I wonder if that might be a function of who reported their statistics.
Oh,
Because
I think that's
from
what
the
it is.
Watkins Museum, the philanthropic giving we get, our membership dues, that's the one thing that hasn't dried up for us. So to imply that there is no philanthropy in Douglas County does seem incorrect.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the sentence, the way it stands right now, kind of gives the wrong impression. It may be technically correct according to Americans for the Arts, but I think it raises the specter that people in this area are not giving when that is not true.
Yeah, and that goes with what Jerry just said. It takes the wheels away from the letter. I think that's what you said, Jerry. I don't know if I quoted you properly, but yeah. I can see that. And
that's my fear. I don't want to take these presentations were impactful to all of us and everything, and I don't want anyone to be able to throw this letter out because they perceive there's some inaccuracy or some dramatization of it on our part or whatever. I would like for it to be as absolutely accurate, both in spirit and in numbers, as we can make it.
Well, and I think from the presentations I got at least a little bit of hope. And if it's like 100% reduction, it's kind of like, well, why? That's a lost cause then. Like, why? Why are we going to work hard to support what is, absolutely demolished? Where Theodore Lawrence still stands right now, Lawrence Art Center still stands, Watkins does. We just need to make sure that they continue to in that way. And the numbers just seem confusing and I don't know. The numbers don't move people, stories do. And I think the five times more than what is seen nationally is plenty enough. I honestly had trouble understanding what that meant, how those numbers added up.
I agree with Josh on that. So first of all, I want to say I would like to see that second sentence removed. Douglas County alone up to of 60%. That just remove that. And then I think that the important one that we've put in bold, only 1 in 3 cultural organizations is expected to survive the pandemic, kind of really puts the pressure on there, just saying, look, you guys, we have these 3 entities that came forward to us. There's the possibility that only one of them is going to survive. We need to get together and support this group of people, this important part of our community. But I would like to hear what the paragraph will sound like with the various things we've talked about. If someone would read out that paragraph.
Sure.
If they just take out that sentence or they add in the various things that people have suggested.
So I'll take a shot at that. So I think, according to what we've said, it would say, in just 4 months, arts and culture organizations across the nation have been impacted in calamitous ways. Americans for the Arts reports in Douglas County the loss of revenue per organization is 5 times more than what is seen nationally, which is worse than the state average. Only 1 in 3 cultural organizations is expected to survive the pandemic.
That sounds good. Should that last sentence be bolded or not?
Which the one is the very last one. The very last one, only 1 in 3 cultural organizations are expected to survive the pandemic, is bolded.
Should we unbold it?
I like it bolded. I feel like people skim things quite a bit, and I feel like that is the heart and soul of the letter in a way. So I think if no one gets anything but that sentence out of this letter, I think that's enough.
Okay.
I agree with Marla.
Jerry, since I kind of know where you're going here and I'm looking at the clock, maybe to read through your next, because I think that this also helps synthesize everything that you guys are talking about in a pretty eloquent way. So, Jerry, if you want to talk about, you have, I believe, 2 other edit suggestions.
Sorry, I was on mute. I think I just have, I think I have one, which is the following. Hold on. Okay, so we had a paragraph, it was a little clunky, that was in the original draft that was up at the top that spoke about, we understand that, that this is a serious situation and lives in danger and so forth, and we don't want to minimize that by making this, but the point, and I think that paragraph was clunky and it was removed, and I don't have any issue with that. What I wondered is if we could give a nod to that. I mean, understanding that the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission's, our job is the arts and supporting that and so forth. But also during this extraordinary situation, we do want to, at least that's why it was included in the beginning, was to make some sort of acknowledgement of that. And so I took a stab at redoing that paragraph and putting it down here. And what I wrote there was this: we fully understand and are sensitive to the fact that many in the commercial and nonprofit worlds are currently facing dire circumstances, period. The LCC is upholding its responsibility by highlighting the organizations in our community that support arts and culture, the importance of the organizations in our community that support arts and cultural experiences. And these, so then it just goes on to make the point that it did. So anyway, it was just adding a sentence in there to give nod to that idea that we had originally way up in the top of the document, which again, like I said, I thought was a little clunky, but just to show that we are sensitive to, sort of the broader situation.
Well, I'll speak to that because I was the one who made that modification, and it was made for a couple of reasons. The first one was I don't feel the need necessarily to communicate all that we understand to the commission, that we get the larger, bigger picture. I mean, we're months into this, and people are getting sick, people are dying, and I don't think anybody's doing that. I think we can make the assumption that they do get that we understand all of those things. But the other thing was, I think there are other organizations, perhaps the chamber and other entities who are speaking up for themselves and are probably not giving a nod to the arts and culture sector. So I feel like they're going to have their voice, and they have their voice, and we should just exclusively represent ours. And I think the city commission is a city commission because they ran to run the city in circumstances like this and even better ones. So like, I don't want to say, I know you're under a lot of pressure now and there's a lot going on, but could you please? It's kind of read like that to me in the original copy. So I just wanted to make them like clearer statements, recognizing the commercial and nonprofit worlds are facing dire circumstances. And it was a pretty significant change to that paragraph, but I tried to keep as much of the language I think you'll see from the original, just left out the wordiness of some of those sentences. We were expressing how much we understood in like 2 or 3 lines, and I didn't see that as necessary. But if others have a different opinion about those, that's just my justification for making that modification is that I thought it was more direct in our focus on the arts and culture. So,
Kate?
I agree with Josh. This is going to sound kind of harsh, but the arts and culture, especially in our community, have never been granted the respect that they truly deserve. And in this time, we are seeing that the arts and the cultural things that we have out there that you cannot put specific dollars on. I mean, when Porter came and we did all the economic survey stuff and all that, we started to be able to put dollar stuff on that. But the heart of our community has to do with the arts and culture. And as we've seen various businesses having to shut their doors, a lot of the people who work in the service industry in this city and in this county are artists. If they don't have a place to work, they're not going to stay here. We're going to lose that part of our soul, part of our spirit. So I'm starting to have a real issue with always having to apologize for wanting the arts and culture to be respected. And that's partly because of my age. I've been doing this battle for a really long time, but I would really like the community to respect what we have and to see what we have and not necessarily have to have a dollar sign on it. We do have that now. We can show that. We can show it's important, but kind of apologizing or saying, we know, yes. And as Josh said, we do know everybody's having a hard time, but now the arts and culture are even more important. And a lot of what we've got going on in Lawrence and Douglas County in the arts and culture is available to a lot of people who don't have money. There's a lot that goes on that's free. And I would like the powers that be to understand that. So that's a long way of saying I agree with Josh.
Now, I agree with Kate. I don't think we need to apologize. And it's almost like we're going in and saying, excuse me, hello, I'm here. And I think we need to support these cultural institutions. So I agree with Kate.
All right. Denise agrees with Kate. Kate agrees with Joshua. I am not going to fall on my sword over this issue. I wanted to bring it up for debate because it was in the original draft and it was taken out. Does anyone else have any strong feelings about that particular part of the letter? All right, let's vote. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to accept these edits.
I second.
Hang on, Clint, I'm going to ask you to add to your motion, just accept these edits and approve the letter with these edits.
Okay. I move to accept these edits and approve the letter with these edits.
You still second, Denise?
Yes, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And we have abstain.
I think ethically I better abstain from all of this.
I voted aye, by the way, with everyone.
So let's do a quick roll call. So Jerry says aye.
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Christina,
Aye.
Marlo,
Aye.
Joshua,
Aye.
Clint,
Aye.
Denise.
Aye.
Very good. I think that's it. Excellent job. Rachel, thank you for joining us too. Again, I really appreciate your help on this. Next motion is to adjourn the meeting. Oh, Steve, sorry.
Before you do, I just want to thank you all for the effort that you're putting forth on our behalf and on behalf of Arts, Culture, and Lawrence. It's been really hard to get our plight noticed, and it's been really heartening the way you have stepped up for us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Steve. If we're not here for that, then what are we here for?
Right.
Great.
This is
I
our
want to
job.
also thank you guys as well for the edits that you made in terms of including other smaller arts organizations. Thank you for fighting for us and for all the thought that you guys put into drafting up this letter. I know that I speak for everyone from Americana when we say thank you.
Thanks.
See you guys.
All right.
Porter,
You need a motion to close the meeting. Motion second, vote to close the meeting.
Thought we did that.
No.
Oh.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.
Whew.